You're listening to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad, previously known as the Travel Hacking Mom Show. Follow the links in the show notes to stay up to date with what the Travel Mom Squad has been up to. If you want to enjoy the life of nearly free travel, but are overwhelmed by the idea of keeping track of credit cards, then this episode is for you. Listen up as we share how simple this can be. Welcome to the Travel Hacking Mom Show. We are three moms who've discovered how to leverage credit card welcome offers to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in travel expenses for nearly free. We've used credit card points and miles to take vacations to places like Hawaii, Paris, Greece, the Maldives, Italy, and so much more. And the best part? We each still have an 800 plus credit score. Imagine being able to book a vacation without having to check your bank account. It's totally possible, and we're here to show you how. Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Jess. We are Travel Hacking Moms. Pam gets the day off today, but we have a special guest joining us. Today we are talking with Zac Hood, founder of our favorite points and miles app, Travel Freely.
So, Zac, how excited are you to be the first guest on the Travel Hacking Mom Show?
This is super special. Just so your guests know, I know you guys well. I have a dry sense of humor. So what I wanted to say was, this goes down towards like Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, like David Letterman, Jimmy Kimmel, and now we have Travel Hacking Mom podcast. So huge honor, but sincerely happy for you guys and excited for this and glad to be here.
Well, thanks so much. So briefly, just kind of tell us about yourself and how you got started in points and miles and like kind of who you are.
Sure. So I grew up born in Cincinnati, but moved to Nashville, Tennessee when I was little and grew up in the South, loving sports and playing outside and pretty good student. And then it is also Dave Ramsey country in terms of relevance for today, in terms of credit cards. And I grew up listening to that show with my mom in middle school, learning about debt and credit cards being evil and all that kind of stuff. But we could maybe get back to that. In terms of growing up, I went to an all-boys school that was based off the story of the movie of the Dead Poets Society, if anyone knows that movie. And so super tough academics and trying to, move up the corporate ladder in the working world and do your best in terms of using your education. But I ended up going to 3 different schools, a little bit less traditional. I went to University of Colorado to play tennis. I had a back injury that ended up having some troubles there, ended up transferring to University of Miami and played tennis there, but then got to the point where I couldn't play tennis anymore and had to give up on that dream basically and transferred to Vanderbilt, which is in Nashville, and finished there. And I ended up actually going back to my old high school, teaching and coaching right out of college because I learned that I love to do that. And then I also started a nonprofit out of kind of a longer, crazy story that helps start organized sports programs in Belize and became a leader of that for several years. In terms of travel and my love for travel, I think I grew up with a few cool opportunities that my parents included my brother and I in, with going to Europe twice, playing tennis with junior tournaments. We were all over the place, visiting different places, some super interesting, others kind of boring. But I think I learned to really appreciate and love like places can be different, people can be different, really beautiful places I've never thought I would see and those kind of things. So I grew up in a very like normative culture in the South where everyone kind of does the same thing, but these travels from an early age allowed me to see the world a little bit and realize there's much more out there. And that's where my hunger for travel really came from at a young age.
So how did you then transition? You touched on you grew up as the Dave Ramsey culture. How did you break away from that to then become a points and miles guy and decide, hey, I'm going to open some credit cards and start traveling for nearly free? How did you get to that point?
Yeah, I would say maybe like many people, it was like a long, slow process, kind of like learning how it all works and that it's all legit and safe. And while it seems too good to be true, it actually is possible to do. So my very first experience with points and miles was actually led to proposing to my wife in southern France, using miles to get over there and get free airfare. And that all came from a friend who emailed me about a credit card offer when I was talking about trying to figure out how to get over to France, because that was like a dream a longer story of a dream that I had when I got to play tennis tournaments in southern France out of high school. I had found this little spot at the top old part of the town in the Mediterranean and just was like, this is where I want to propose one day. And then going back to my old high school, coaching, teaching, not making much money, then dating Virginia, my wife now, realizing like this is going to cost a lot of money and probably not very possible. So back to my friend who had emailed me about this credit card offer of 100,000 miles and enough to get you round trip tickets to Europe. That was actually kind of a crazy coincidence. And despite that, to let you know like how much distrust I had from early days, I emailed him back and I said, thanks, but there's no way that's true. That's not possible. There's got to be like, this is a gimmick, all that kind of stuff. So a week later, he had actually hit his bonus for that card and opened up his account, took a screenshot of his miles balance and emailed it to me. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to talk, learn a little bit more about this. And that ended up being the first card that I opened for points and miles. And it really did work out. I got those miles just using my regular monthly spending and booked those tickets. And that was like the very first beginning of it. So it wasn't like someone was like, hey, read this blog, or back then there weren't, I don't think, very many blogs at all. That was like 2010. But when I got back from that trip to France, I definitely like started searching more and looking into like, how is this actually possible? And can I do this again? And like, I wasn't spending much money. I wasn't making much money, but I was just able to go to Europe and get free tickets. And so that was the very beginning of it. And I still like was very cautious moving forward on this idea of getting credit card bonuses using my spending. And then once that really happened and kept taking trips, then the rest was history, more or less.
So I feel like it's one thing to be a travel hacker and open these cards for the points, and it's a whole other thing to quit your job and develop an app dedicated to points and miles. So can you kind of give us an idea of how you came up with the idea for Travel Freely, the app?
Yeah. So a little bit like that guy from Men's Warehouse. I'm not only the owner, but I'm a customer kind of thing. Like I started using credit cards and not able to like keep track of them. I had a spreadsheet, and I know people still recommend spreadsheets, but it was up to me to update the spreadsheet, and I couldn't tell or figure out if I'd updated it, when I'd updated it, if the information was correct or not. And I'd miss out on adding certain cards. I'd miss certain dates, annual fees, and it was just kind of a mess. It was like, there's got to be a better way to organize this. And then at the same time, I was a full-time teacher between elementary and middle school. And I originally had started Travel Freely as like a points and miles consulting one-on-one, talking to people. And so just teaching them the basics, how to get started. And once I spent a lot of time with people, like they would get really excited and interested, but then like over and over and over and over, the question was, okay, well, but how do I keep track of this? And I didn't have a great answer because it was like, well, I use a spreadsheet and I do a really bad job maintaining the spreadsheet. And there wasn't a great answer. And that was just a huge sticking point. Once you get past like the learning curve of like, how does this affect my credit? Like, how does this actually work? My monthly expenses really do this? Then, the next step is like, okay, well, if I get one or two cards and I want to get more, then this is going to be like too much to manage, like too hard to do. And so that's where the idea of like an actual software came into play. Both to actually like track the cards, give you reminders that were all automated, so you didn't have to think about those things. But then also, I'm more of an introvert, but I was also a teacher, and I realized the opportunity to create an app that did the tracking, but also did like the educating and helped teach people in an organized way. And so that was really fun for me because it was like exhausting being extroverted, talking to so many people. And then I was like, well, if this was an app and educated people, I can kind of do it in my own corner with the computer. It can be part of the software. Then also so many more people can use it. So that's where it all started, really with just the simple idea of like, how can I stay organized? How can friends and family and how can other people like not have to worry about maintaining management of the cards, tracking them, and the most important things that you need to stay organized and continue to earn more points and miles.
So one of the questions that we get a lot when we promote the Travel Freely app, and I assume you do also, is it actually free? And do I have to enter my credit card information? And if it is actually free, how is it free? So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So the simple answer is yes. Every single part of it is free. There's no premium. There's no like extra ads in the app or anything. It's completely free. We don't ask for your credit card information, and anyone can get it and sign up. So the reasons for that, basically, number one was I wanted as many people as possible to try it and get into it and use it, because there's enough barriers of like, how does this travel hacking stuff work, that it's like, I don't want them to have to pay for something to just get into learning about it. But then the other part that works well is that we have credit card affiliate links. So anytime someone does end up getting a credit card and uses our links, if we have a link for that and earn a commission, then we can support the site and the app through that. And we are a very small team, and this isn't a big corporate enterprise thing. And so it really doesn't take that much to support the app and the website. And that has worked out really well. So we've been able to not charge anyone. And to be honest, the other reason was at the very beginning was I was just nervous that if I charged $1 or whatever, someone would like want a refund and be like, I don't like this app because of all this stuff. And I like didn't want to mess with a refund of like refunding $1 to somebody. So it made it easy. If people complain, it's like, well, it's totally free. So I'm not sure what you want, from a refund. But luckily, that hasn't been the case. But the other thing, just to note that from the beginning, I kind of made a promise to myself and other bloggers and our users, is that we'll always post the best offers for the credit cards. So basically, regardless of commission, we're going to put the best offers there, meaning the best links to the best offers. So some cards can have 2 or 3 different offers based on what link you use. For the exact same card, we're going to post the link with the best offer. And so sometimes we may not earn a commission off a card you get because it's a better offer that we're posting that's not an affiliate link, but basically because we're trying to keep you around and make you a lifetime free traveler, hopefully at some point you will get a card and we'll earn a commission, and that will be a good way to support the app.
Yeah, I feel like that was a huge reason for us why we decided that we wanted to be, partners with Travel Freely, because we want the people that we're recommending cards to be able to get the best offer too. Because you know what it's like when you're starting out and you realize, oh, there was a better offer on that card and I didn't know, and I got this like not as good one. It's like a really, really, really stinks. So that was really important to us. And that's something we really, really love about the Travel Freely app. So going into that, let's all like just share maybe a couple of things that we love about the Travel Freely app.
Okay, I will start with a couple of my favorite features. My very favorite feature is that it tracks your 524 status. And for those who are just tuning in, and this is maybe your first episode, or maybe you forgot what the 524 rule is, it is an unofficial Chase rule that they will automatically deny you if you have opened 5 or more personal credit cards from any issuer, not just Chase, in the past 24 months. And so it is a very important rule when it comes to travel hacking and deciding which cards you're going to open. And the Travel Freely app does everything for me. Whenever I open a new card, I just enter it into the app. It tracks where I am in my 524 status. If I am over 524, it tells me the date that I will be back under 524 so that I know that I can open some more Chase cards then. And so that is my favorite part. I didn't even use a spreadsheet before Travel Freely. I used a note in my iPhone. So it was like even less sophisticated than a spreadsheet. And I would literally count backwards to see where I was in my 524 status. And so to say that like this app has totally changed the way I organize my cards would be an understatement.
That's actually a really big surprise to me that you had a note on your phone, because if you know Jess, she even refers to herself as Monica Geller. And so the fact that you're using a note in your phone is kind of crazy.
I know.
I mean, I at least had a spreadsheet, and I was like Zach, I was not good at updating it. So I don't know how helpful it was, but I had it. And now like when people say they use a spreadsheet, I'm like, why?
No,
You have to actually do stuff if you have a spreadsheet. With Travel Freely, like you don't have to do anything except when you open the card, oh, I opened this card. This is the card I opened. And here's the date. That's literally the only work you have to do.
Yeah, I think I just, like, started with the note, and I didn't really think I was gonna be, like, as into this as I turned out to
Yeah.
be, and so I was like, "Okay, I'll just, like, put my 2 cards in my note," and then it got to be, like, 10 cards and then 12 cards, and I was like, "Okay, there has to be a better way than this."
Yeah.
So, luckily, I learned about Travel Freely, and now it is much easier. And then my second favorite feature, so you also probably know that my husband is a very skeptical player too. He's getting better, but the fact that I can keep track of not only my cards but his cards in my app is huge because I'm the one who manages everything. When I first came to him with the idea of travel hacking, he was reluctant, but he was like, "Yeah, but you have to manage everything. Like I'm not going to open these cards." And so I was like, once I found out that Travel Freely allows me to have both of us in my app, I was like, wow, that's a game changer because I don't have to have him manage any of it. I can do it all from my app. And it also allows you to have your business accounts in there also. So I have my personal and my business, and then I have his personal and his business all in my app. So super easy to keep track of all of his stuff too.
So, Zach, what's like your favorite part of the app? And when you were starting it, what were you like, I have to have this feature? Like the number one most important thing to you?
That's a good question. So I think it's a little bit, and you guys know me, it's a little bit philosophical in terms of the feature, but it was
You
like,
don't say.
this needs to be like really simple, and this needs to be highlighting the most important parts of what I think is important with points and miles, which is just focus on the big wins. So like get your head around the basic tips, the basic strategy, how to utilize really good cards and their sign up bonuses, but don't worry about all the extra things that people tell you to worry about when it really doesn't add up as much. So the simplicity of it was really important for it to actually be useful. So that meant actually having a fairly limited number of features, but wanting them to be really helpful. So probably the most sophisticated feature is the card genie, which is like our recommendations. And what that does is takes into account the cards that you have on that you've added to your My Cards page, and then it puts it through the actual application rules of the different banks and the credit cards. And then it will only show you the cards that you're eligible for, and it will show them kind of ranked for their current best offers. So basically, that is saving hours and hours and hours of someone's time to be able to just see, here are the cards I'm eligible for. And I don't even have to know the rules. I don't have to worry about going through all this research. And so that was probably the hardest thing to do, but now the coolest part about it, because it takes a lot of that second guessing or research out of it for the average person, and they don't have to wonder if they're eligible or not for a card. And I think that is, super helpful. And then alongside it, there's a counter of 90 days from the last time you opened a card. And that was probably the biggest thing I was missing when I was using my spreadsheet. I didn't have any kind of like, it's time to get a new card. And I say 90 days just because that seemingly is best practice. If you want to continue to get cards, that the bank scrutinize the last 90 days of your credit score and activity. So once it's been 90 days, your odds of approval go way up. And so having that countdown and an email alert of when to be able to apply next with the best odds was super helpful, because it basically made all that more efficient. Because when I was using my spreadsheet, there'd be like 6-7 months would go by and I thought, oh, I just got this card. I'm like, no, it's been almost a year, and just missing out on a lot of opportunities. So that's definitely a big part of it, to, at the end of the day, earn a lot more miles without having to think too much.
Yeah, I love the card genie too. And as someone who like knows the bank rules, I'll even still look at it because I'm like, oh, I'll just go see what my card genie says instead of, it's an easy place to see what the best offers are and what I'm actually eligible for. So even as a experienced user, I really, really like that feature. I also really like that it sends email reminders when my annual fees are due. That was a big thing for me when I was just using a spreadsheet. It was like, oh, what if I forget that like Like, I don't typically log into my American or like my Barclay account to see my American Airlines card very often. And I know I don't want to keep that card. And I'm probably going to forget about it because I'm not going to check my spreadsheet. But I love with Travel Freely, I get a reminder that my annual fee is going to post in 45 days. And then I have time to figure, okay, am I keeping or downgrading or canceling this card? And then I already know what I'm going to do. I have that time to prepare, and then I don't forget to cancel the card, and I'm not charged that annual fee. So I love that feature a lot.
Cool. Yeah, we have a to-do list in the app that kind of lines up what are the key dates coming up, like bonus deadlines, annual fees, and extra information on those cards. But we send those push notifications out if you have the mobile app, and then we have the emails going, like you said. And that's how I use it most, because I'm kind of like, my to-do list is partially my email list. So I'm able to track that. And then one thing we added in the last year is like extra advice on the actual annual fee for each card. Most of the top cards, I would say, where we're giving people that may not know exactly what they want to do, keep, cancel, downgrade the card. We let them know, like, this is what most people would do, or here are your options. Here are reasons why you might want to do this versus that. And so that's all part of trying to help a beginner, like, not really have to think too much and give them information at the right time, and then give them the decision that they can make without having to, go deep dive on all this extra stuff.
Okay, well, you learn something new every day because I did not even know that feature existed. So now I do, and now I can tell people.
I also really love it. I know, like, we touched on it, but I love that it doesn't ask for any of your personal information. For me, I'm not wanting to put my credit card information or my logins to my reward accounts. Like,
No, I am the same way.
that's a no-go. I'm not going to do that. And so I love that it asks for nothing personal. That's huge.
Yeah, I refuse to use those apps and websites that require you to link your bank account or anything like that, just because I feel like that is a disaster waiting to happen. And maybe I'm just paranoid, but the fact that Travel Freely doesn't require me to do that is like another reason why it is my favorite.
That's cool to hear. Yeah, we did a survey about a year and a half ago, and like 85% of people listed that as one of their favorite things, was that we didn't ask for that sensitive information. And so I am seeing more apps out there that are trying to do fancy, sophisticated, techie stuff. And I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think people really want that. And at the end of the day, we don't really need that to keep the main features. So that's something that definitely sensitive to. And it's one of the first questions people ask, like, what kind of security do you have? And like, well, first, we don't really ask for anything very sensitive. But second, we have like best in class security for everything, but we're not asking for any login information, social security number, like none of that.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Zac. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to spend your time planning free travel and not updating spreadsheets, then make sure you check out the link in the show notes to download the Travel Freely app. Thanks so much for listening to the Travel Hacking Mom Show. Make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button from wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Want to start jet setting even faster? Follow the links in the show notes to learn about everything we discussed in today's episode. And to stay connected and follow along, follow us on Instagram at Travel Hacking Mom. We can't wait to see where in the world points and miles take you.